So I'm going to talk in the next 20 minutes on the aspect of the community mapping and citizen engagement, and specifically about the project. What I'm going to cover is, first of all, to see how we moved from just delivering mapping, just giving information out to the public, to getting them engaged in different projects, and how things are very rapidly changing, and what we can do within the CPC project. So the story, and then we'll talk about participatory mapping, and we'll talk specifically about the involvement within this project. So let's start with the history of it. We're going back to 2003, about almost 10 years ago, when together with Paul Longley, Dave Ashby, and Kate Jones, Dave Ashby is in Dr. Foster Intelligence now, and Kate is in Portsmouth, we were involved in a data sharing process and agreement between Camden Police, the NHS Trust, and the council. And one of the things that emerged was interest in seeing the data. Now, today we have the policing maps, but you will see that those maps that we have developed are actually quite different. And the difference is that the current maps assume that the user is an individual who wants to find information about their home. Actually, when you want to work in a community, you need to think about the community goals and what they want to do. And a lot of time, community goals are linked to a specific area where they can extract or use different political levers in order to change the situation. When you see information about your home, what you can do with it, especially as you can't see that it's about your home because the information has been shifted by some 100 meters around. So what we've done in that project, we developed it through consultation with community representatives and with the different bodies that were involved, and the result of it was a series of maps. Now, the main thing about it is not just that it was maps and it was done in a very integrated way, so the police actually could run it themselves, and they ran it to our somewhat surprise between 2003 and until 2007, which was way beyond what we thought is going to happen. But the main thing was the areas that were used on the map. So the areas are linked to different aspects that are important to the community. So we have crimes, we have some statistical information about different wards, but we also have neighborhood renewal unit, which were important at the time because you could, as I said, use certain levers in order to change the situation, or you can use other information. Around the same time, I was starting to work with a charity called London 21, who were developing a green map for London, just to share information between different organizations that are active in sustainability issues in London. And if you look at the state of this web mapping around this era in 2003, you could actually see the limitations in what is possible to do. You could see, for example, the navigation at the top, which is absolutely ridiculous, of kind of clicking west, north, south, and so on. It's just impossible to use. And although that's the first map of its kind in the world of putting on the internet a green map, it wasn't that much useful. And then things started to change with around 2005. Interestingly, the first mashup, which is to take Google Maps, crack the way that the code worked, and create an application on top of it, was about crime. It was the use of information about Chicago, then linking it to Google Maps, and creating the application on top of it. And the result of this thing is this whole explosion in mashup application. The Google Application Programming Interface, API, was developed as direct result of what you're seeing here. So that means that the interest in mapping crime information was actually quite important and quite a strong motivation in the process. And yet, look at what it is. It's points. You actually need to deal with that again as an individual. And if you don't gather the community together and don't have the power, it just informs you things. So you end up with this horrible redlining application that Microsoft has suggested a few months ago, which is to inform you, to rotate and alert you about getting into dangerous area. It doesn't empower the community to make a difference in their area. And so on top of the Google Maps, very soon in 2005, we have upgraded the London Green Map, and then we made it, that was done by Paolo Isoardi, one of our MSc students. And then we could actually make it much more sophisticated, much more interactive, and engaging people in different aspects of it. And they can start communicate between them. They can find information about different community organizations and doing things. But notice that everything that I talked so far is about delivering information. There isn't much there about starting to engage with things. So around 2007-8, although participatory mapping is the process that lead to the information that you see on the green map or lead to the design of the crime maps, what we are doing here, we are actually moving into new modes in which we represent the information. So, for example, we can work with paper. Great technology, been around 3,000 years, doesn't need battery, anyone can use it, and most importantly, it reduces the barrier to entry in the sense that you can focus on the problem of understanding spatial information, whereas if you use an online map, you are introducing people with two barriers. You introduce them to the barrier of understanding the technology and the barrier of understanding maps. And you can figure out if someone is afraid of maps by using that and then move them slowly over to the other side. You can work with kids, which is fun. You can see, you'll see other images, and you can have community consultation in a process that collects the information and display it. And then there is also other methods, like an interesting method that was developed by Steve Sinderby in New York, is the rapid appraisal method that is basically having a pop-up place in the middle of the town with a map, and then you have stickers and you put them on the map in different places. You will see that this technique is actually very useful in reaching out to people that would usually won't come to workshops. So this concept of how to reach, actually people are in place, they're just busy with their daily life. But if you, for example, do a pop-up mapping next to a supermarket when people are coming in and out, and ask them to stop for a minute and give you a bit of information, you can get this type of details. And you can start seeing, as a result of all these innovations from the Google Maps, etc., you also have bottom-up mapping. So here is an example from the Brixton community where they use the Google Mind Map in order to create platform for their transition town of recording, for example, where are the allotments, where are the fruit trees in the area, and other information. But the limitation of the system, of course, are quite severe, and you can't get very far. So over the year, we actually turned that into a platform for community map, which then turned into Mapping for Change. I'll tell you about Mapping for Change in a second. And now, for any community, we can create quite rapidly, in less than 10 minutes, an application that provides an area for them, that focus on their area, and that's another aspect of community mapping. A lot of time, people that are used to geography and maps used to kind of zooming in into information. Start from the world in Google Earth and zoom to your area. Actually, for most people, they want to zoom out, not to zoom in. They want to start from their area, and if they want to see what's going on around them, they might zoom out. So by providing them a view on their world, and that's, for example, in complex information, you can think about it as providing views on a big database. You help them to see their specific information. So what is Mapping for Change? As a result of all the activities that I described, we created it in UCL, a social enterprise, a business with aims to create mostly social value and to contribute to society, and the revenue is reinvested in the business. And what we are doing is promoting and supporting community-based initiative towards building more sustainable communities. And this company was created by this collaboration between London 21 and UCL, and it's the first social enterprise that UCL has created. And we are using all these techniques that I described to you in different projects and different applications, and also doing some analysis for the third sector. So here's the general process in which we are going to use within CPC in order to carry out the different community mapping activities. So we develop over the years, over now 12 years, or almost 15. Process of understanding how to work with community. You go to a community, you start with, first of all, introduction to information. And one of the joys of doing this type of project is to discover how wrong is official information. Because what we do is we usually start with the official information. In this case, you see some example from an environmental project, but it's just as effective to use geodemographic information, to use information that comes from the police, to use other sources of information. And what you usually get within a few minutes of the introduction, there will be a slide that causes people to jump. So in one case, it was displaying the index of multiple deprivation with people saying, how dare you call us deprived? Okay? Which the community didn't perceive it as such and were upset about it. In other cases, and as in the case that I'm over there pointing to, people were upset about the fact that the noise map had nothing to do with the realities of what they are experiencing, and so on and so forth. So the initial presentation is kind of opening up the issues that will be explored, but also leaving it wide enough to let the community express what will be the issue that they are interested in. So you don't go into them and say, this is how the police classify the different crimes, and you shall follow exactly those guidelines. You open it up. You're trying to show that there are different aspects of it and explore what will be the issues that will come up. So out of that presentation, as I said, there will be some issues, and then you can do this exercise of sitting around the map. It's also very useful to do it with paper maps because it helps you to understand when people don't understand information and help them to learn a bit about mapping and tools of that sort, and then collect the information. And lots of times that is followed by an exercise of perception mapping, where people are recording information in different ways and take maps home and record things that they like or dislike. Sometimes it will be followed by citizen science, where people will record actual facts from their environment, take pictures with GPS coordinates and other information. Things, for example, an example from Archway, where we've done the exercise of perception mapping. That led to recording of the information that showed that people were concerned with pedestrian movement in the area. That led to working with another bit of UCL space syntax, and this time it's another spin out of UCL space syntax limited, and the community doing the data recording and the pedestrian observation, which then lead to a visualization and information about how people move in the area and communicating with the council. Another aspect after doing the recording is indeed digitization of the information that was recorded by the community. And here's an example from 120 maps in Marksgate in Barking and Dagenham. And you can see different issues that were raised by the community. And notice, for example, that the park over here is marked in both ways. There are issues with it, but there are also things that are important for the community. So there are the positive, you'll see it there. And that led, for example, to changing in the community, in the friends of the park. But also there are issues about, for example, the shopping area, where people complain about antisocial behavior. And interestingly, in this case, the police argue that they don't have report, so it's not there. But when you have 120 people from the community telling you that this is what they are concerned about, then you better listen. And then sometimes we move on and create an online map. So in Marksgate, they didn't want to communicate the problem in the community, so they haven't done that. So here's an example, a really recent example that was just done in the last few weeks in Thamesmead, in East London. And what we were working is a part of European project about active citizenship. As a result of it, here's Thamesmead was then developed in the 1960s, famously appeared in a film. Anyone knows which film it appeared in? Yeah, indeed, and kind of got was notorious for it, yeah. And it's a lot of issues are going on there. So recently we started to work with the community doing this rapid appraisal project, for example, using International Women's Day to explore specific issues that are important for the women in the area. So for example, where they feel safe, where they don't feel safe, all kind of memories about living in the area for a long time. And that helps us to record different information. For example, underpass that is not safe, or there is a less feeling of safety in the area. And also done that on a general way, where you get information from other people in the community, and you record all this information, you take it back, and you can then digitize it. You can see that we're using different sorts of information for it. Now we have a community map of Thamesmead, and that allows us to record all sorts of information. For example, problems of locked passages that are making life difficult for disabled users, or other issues that people want to highlight within the project. So that allows the community to continue and use it. And we will follow a very similar process within CPC. There is also the option of now using mobile devices. So here's an example from Femi Adekunle from Geography Department, who developed a stop and search application for Black youth as part of his PhD, using the EpiCollect tool that we also use in the Extreme Citizen Science group. And what it allows you is to allow you to record information on the map, and together with the City YMCA, people can actually record the GPS, record a picture of what is going on, and have this type of information. So for further information, here's all the details, and that's about it. Thank you very much.